I'm going to ask you, Anna, to expand on Matt's previous point about how a faction of Republicans believe shifting resources to containing China is the way forward. And we're going to play another clip from our favorite person, JD Vance, that gives us an insight into the framing for furthering Biden's war drive against China, using Taiwan as a pretext for escalation.
Make it as costly as possible for the Chinese to invade Taiwan in the first place. Everyone will tell you that if the Chinese establish territory in Taiwan, if they establish a beachhead in Taiwan, it becomes very hard and a lot of people get killed. So you prevent them from doing that. And the way you prevent them from doing that is to make sure they've got enough weapons to defend themselves. Again, prevention is the best way to stop a war. An ounce of deterrence is worth a lot more than a pound of stupid foreign policy from Kamala.
So basically, the beginning of that clip was a little bit cut off, but essentially JD said something like, the solution to preventing a war with China is to weaponize Taiwan. Obviously, an essential part of US foreign policy is the militarization of the Asia Pacific. And that has been massively ratcheted up by the Biden administration with AUKUS, the rearming of Japan, and pushing for an Asian NATO. So, Anna, are we heading for a hot war over Taiwan? And also, what are the real dynamics here? Can you debunk the US propaganda in JD's clip?
Well, they've done this from the start. It's like black is white, white is black. I think they're just doing it deliberately now. I bet you that they're taking bets, It's like, how outrageous do you think we can be, and people are going to believe it? It shows not a great deal of respect for their audiences. To me, listening to Sequoia, I just keep thinking, oh, Rosa Luxemburg was right then. It's barbarism or socialism, really, isn't it? Another maybe a glimmer of hope is that, we know that Trump is making all these alliances with absolute monsters, a rogues gallery of just horrors across the globe. But when you look at, say, in Argentina, Milei's just crashed his economy, hasn't he? Schultz looks as if he's in trouble politically. So these geniuses, there's only just so much of this momentum that they can take advantage of before the wheels start falling off. And it's like, hurry up and fall off, wheels. I think the whole thing is an assault on 400 years of the Age of Enlightenment. So when we hear people like Vance just saying something where the opposite is obviously true, and they've been saying this for several years now, they've gone from the one China policy to now, oh, it was always this way. It was ever thus. Taiwan was never part of China. In which case, if that's true, then why have they got this museum with all the greatest of China's treasures that Chiang Kai-shek and his lot took over to the Republic of China after World War II? They've got this jade cabbage, carved cabbage. Do you know that one that apparently is worth about $100 billion that's in this museum? And it's all Chinese treasures. So it's an absolute joke. The last thing China wants is a war with Taiwan. You've got Chinese families that are split across the strait. It is Chinese. America has been arming Taiwan. Taiwan is probably the most important link in this chain. And when you look at the map, you see, oh, wow, they really, really are hemmed in by this chain all the way from, Japan coming down to the Ryukyu Islands and, Taiwan. And you can see that their enemies want to keep them there. And they're even attacking their back door out through Xinjiang, the Belt and Road that was going through the old Silk Road, out through the entire length of the Europe-Asia landmass. I remember being very excited in 2017 when the first China freight train arrived here embarking. I thought, wow, this is great. I can go and relax and do other things. I don't have to be worried about geopolitics anymore. That was such a great moment. But I've got up on my screen Wikipedia, the Wikipedia page, list of US arms sales to Taiwan. And the whole thing is a joke. Even under cuddly Jimmy Carter, that there were loads of armaments sent there. So the whole island is bristling with American missiles. You've got military there. You've got that Kinmen Island that's literally, about 5 miles from Xiamen City. It's really close. It's almost as if you had Canvey Island, a load of foreign soldiers, I don't know, whoever your enemy might be, could be American, could be Russian, who knows. So if you had enemies on there, you'd be really, really worried. And the idea that China's not allowed to defend itself, and that we're hearing how they're tooling up, they're getting all these weapons, they're building up their military. It's like, well, wouldn't you, if you had some great big bully pointing a gun at your face? You know, of course you'd be absolutely stupid not to do that. So I really recommend that everyone goes to the Wikipedia page and just have a look at the arms. That it's like, you know, every few months there's a load of death machines being sent there. I've got a real thing about that pivot to Asia in 2010. That was so important. That was Obama, again, the cuddly Democrats doing this, because I think the Republicans have sort of got into the swing of, oh, it's quite nice, we're making a lot of money from them, you know, just let it go on. Wall Street absolutely loved the trade. But then Obama and Hillary decided to build on the great game. There's always been this great game, hasn't there? I remember seeing Carry On Up the Khyber Pass when I was a kid, and that's probably my first exposure to what was going on there. And then, of course, you grow up, or not, and realize that there's this long, deep politics to do with it. You know, what had been bubbling away in the background was finally activated by Obama in 2010. And this is a whole subject that I'm writing about in my Shakedown timeline, that he was humiliated. Obama was this young politician. He knew nothing about China. He just wasn't interested in China. And then he got humiliated because Britain, who I think of as Iago dripping poison in Othello's ear, got him to sort of stand in for the wealthy West during COP15 in 2009 in Copenhagen. And he was really humiliated because they got found out. There was this Danish treaty that was the stitch up of the poorer nations. And I think Obama never really came back from that. So the next year, you know, we have this pivot. Hillary's manifesto, that thing that she wrote in, not the Atlantic, what was it that she wrote it in? Was it Foreign Policy? Where basically it's the same thing all over again. Oh, here's the Asia landmass. We want that. And like, as if you're playing a game of Risk, you want to take that central part, or a game of chess. You want the central part, which is like Afghanistan, all those countries around there. You know, there was that building as well. The whole thing is just appalling. I think these people, are they bored? I just don't understand. They want excitement. They want war. They want to play with the toys. As soon as they get in, the first thing they do is open the toy box and they want to use it. Trump is on record as saying, well, if we got these things, you know, why can't we use them? Which is probably the most terrifying things that I've ever heard him say. So the arms sales to Taiwan since 1979 never stopped. It's hundreds of millions of dollars worth of military gear every year. And imagine what would happen if China did that with Hawaii or the Bahamas. You know, look what happened to Cuba when Russia, you know, after the Bay of Pigs invasion attempt, Russia tries to reinforce Cuba with armaments. That almost goes nuclear. And I thought we'd learnt from that. But obviously, you know, we haven't. So there's this noose of American bases around China. Taiwan is just key. America couldn't care less what happened to Taiwanese. Obviously, they couldn't care less what happens to Uyghurs. You know, they've killed enough Muslims over time. I think Guantanamo is still open, isn't it? So that's what we're dealing with. People who are attacking 400 years of the Age of Enlightenment, attacking science, attacking the meaning of words. They are great manipulators, and the whole thing is a bit of a head fuck.